Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Gehman.
And I'm Kirby Gehman.
And we're here from MASH, the Manitoba Association for Schooling at Home. And today we're going to answer some of your homeschooling questions.
So let's just start with kind of the basic question. What is homeschooling?
Well, it sounds basic, but it's not, right?
It's a pretty deep question.
It is a pretty deep question. And I mean, one of the things that first comes to my mind is there are as many ways to homeschool as there is homeschoolers. So when someone say, what is homeschooling? As someone who's been doing it for 25 years, there's a lot that comes into my brain. But I guess at the base level, homeschooling is people providing education for their children in their home. That's the simple answer.
Okay. So if I want to homeschool, you say there's a whole bunch of different kinds of homeschool. What do you mean by that? Isn't it just doing school at home?
There are some people who do school at home. And I know we're in a time when a lot of parents are not wanting to send their children to the public schools because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so they're wanting to school their children from home, and they're looking to do at home what they would expect would be done in the school. But generally speaking, that's not what most homeschoolers do. Most homeschoolers, it's a little bit like a lifestyle choice. You know, most of us who've been doing this for many years and who have chosen this as our first choice for education, homeschool because we want to provide our children with an alternative education. So we're not actually wanting to do in our homeschools what's being done at the public school. Now, that's not to say that there aren't people who don't do school at home, because there are lots of people who do at school at home. They use the Manitoba curriculum documents and they try to align what they're doing at home with those documents. But I would say the majority of us really kind of do our own thing, and we can talk about how there are lots of different what we sometimes call styles of homeschooling, and those different styles will affect what you do and the resources you choose. And so schooling at home is actually just one of those styles.
So can someone just homeschool for a few months, or just for a year, or just until they feel the schools are safe?
Absolutely. In Manitoba, we have the right to homeschool. You have 30 days after you establish a homeschool in order to let the government know what your program of education is going to look like. But so if you pull your child out of public school, then you have 30 days to figure out what you want to do at home. If you've decided you're done homeschooling, then you could move your child back into the school system. It would just be like as if you'd moved into the neighborhood and were brand new. The school would accept the child at their appropriate grade level. Of course, that kind of movement is disruptive for children. And so, yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but I mean, children thrive on safety and routine. And so the idea of children moving in and out is, I realize that we live in exceptional times right now, but that would be very alarming for children, I think, and children are going to do best when they're not alarmed by what's happening.
Parents will just have to make the decision that they think is best for their kids. If they think it's best that they're not in school right now,
exactly.
When it makes sense that they go back to school, then they can deal with that.
Yes, but you can certainly move in and out of the system as best suits your family.
What do you think about the idea that kids will miss out? Because we get a lot of messages that people are terrified that their kids are going to lose out. They're going to miss something. They're not going to be up to speed when they get back into the school system. How do you discuss that?
Okay, well, that's another complicated question. And it's complicated because obviously if you homeschool your children are going to be missing out on things that would happen in a public or private school. There are some things that we can't mimic in homeschool, although many of us try to do that and we get together in larger numbers, or there are lots of active parents who perceive that they would like to provide their child with something that it's hard to do when it's just your own family, and then they will set about figuring out how to do that. So I know one family created a soccer club. I know a family created a homeschool baseball club, right? So yeah, obviously public school children are missing out on things that homeschool children get.
I'm even talking just about academics.
Academically?
Right? So if I'm teaching my kid math, I'm going to be terrified that I miss something that they're doing in school.
Absolutely. And that is true. kids who are at home are
Yeah.
going to miss something, and kids who are in school are going to miss something. Everybody has gaps in their learning. And I think each of us adults have a moment where we realize that we did not learn something that we think we probably should have or was probably taught, and we don't know it. I mean, just yesterday, my 21-year-old son, who is doing an honors program at university, confessed that he didn't know where Whitehorse was. He knew it was in one of the territories, but he didn't know which one. But here's the thing, he Googled it. He knew that this was a lack of knowledge. He acknowledged that he needed to learn that. And that, to me, that's really much more important, is for my children to know that they have gaps and that they're eager to fill those gaps when they discover them. So yeah, are your kids going to have gaps? Absolutely.
If I homeschool for a couple of months or for a year, will my kids be at a disadvantage when they go back?
I don't think so. And one of the reasons that I don't think so is because if you're providing your child with a warm and nurturing environment, then that is what causes developmental growth for our children. Children grow naturally and in incredible ways when they are in a warm and nurturing environment. And so I think that that's partly what a lot of parents are trying to do right now. They're looking at a very scary environment that their children may be going into. And so they're concerned and they're wanting to bring their children home. And I think in that case, if children are going to if they are going to find being in a 2020 pandemic classroom terrifying, then they're going to learn way more at home than they're going to learn in the classroom. And I mean, there's some kids who may go into a classroom and wearing masks and washing their hands and social distancing. They're just going to roll with that and it'll be fine. And there are some children that will find being at home difficult, because honestly, teaching our own children is sometimes tough.
Yes.
And I have 5 of them. We have good days and bad days. And so I think it just has to keep coming back to, if you are providing your children with a warm and nurturing learning environment, then learning is going to happen naturally. And I don't think that they're going to be behind.
And even if they're missing a few things, is that going to be difficult for them to pick up? Are they going to be completely lost?
I don't think so. Well, he was 16 at the time. My 16-year-old son decided he wanted to do sciences at the high school. So he went over there. We'd never really done formal sciences. I'm kind of a relaxed homeschooler. So we hadn't really engaged in the science curriculums. We got a couple of textbooks for him to flip through, but he went in and he took all of his science and math credits. And there was a little bit of a couple of weeks where he had to figure out how school worked, because he'd never been to school before. But the learning part of it, that he was all of his teachers said what a pleasure it was to have him in the classroom, because he was excited about learning.
That's great.
So yeah, did he have gaps? Yeah. Were there things that the other kids knew that he didn't know? Yeah, but he figured it out and moved on.
If I pull my kid from school and homeschool them for months or a year, might they get held back a year?
That is not the way our public school system works. Children will be entered into their age appropriate grade when they enter the schools.
That's really good to know.
Yeah, and I mean, those kind of decisions are the administration at your local school has ultimate authority, and so it's always good to go in and meet with the administration and to be very kind and understand that they have a tough job as well, and so to be
we
honey catches more.
Yeah, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. If you're going to pull your child from school and then put your child back in, is there anything else we need to do? Just pull your child. There's the forms you have to fill out.
Yes.
So we have to notify the government that we're going to homeschool. Do we have to tell the school?
If your child is registered and attending school and the school has an expectation that your child will be there, then it is definitely in your best interest to contact the school and let them know that you will be homeschooling your child and that you have or will soon submit your papers to the homeschooling office. When a child is consistently absent from a school that they're expected to attend, then that will set off a report to the truancy office. And so then it's up to a truancy officer to make sure that a child is attending school. And so, yeah, so you're just
Yeah.
making things easier for yourself if you let the child know, because
Legally, you don't necessarily have to, but it'll make things a lot simpler if you do.
Yeah, and you just have to know sometimes that when you call the school to remove your children, that the schools, they don't want that. they really, they want to do what they think is best for their students, and so they may actively try to convince you that you're making a mistake. And so if you just know in your heart that this is what you want to do, then you just do it, and you just tell the school administration, thank you very much, but I've already contacted the homeschooling office, and I will get my forms in.
To be a little bit cynical, their funding is dependent on how many students they have. So when you pull a student, they lose a little bit of funding. So you can sort of see that. So expect a little bit of pushback is what you're saying, is if it might happen that you get a little bit of pushback, but it is your right to homeschool. So it's okay.
Yeah. And I honestly think that there's a lot of education staff who they aren't familiar with homeschooling at all. They don't actually understand how it works. And they truly in their heart of hearts believe that they're offering a great program that can't be mimicked at home. And so sometimes they are coming from a really, a generous place sometimes.
All right. So that's kind of covering the basics of how to can I homeschool? Is it going to hurt my kid? All of the really kind of basic questions that we get. In later videos, we'll cover things like the legality, how to choose homeschooling, other things like that. But for now, I think we'll just leave it there.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please like and subscribe. You'll find more videos answering more questions on our channel.
You can also check out our webpage at manitobahomeschool.com.
Or look us up on Facebook under Manitoba Association for Schooling at Home.
Take care.